What went we out into this wilderness to find?
What's the matter, Millie?
Oh God, my Lord, I now begin. Oh, help me and don't leave my sin. For I repentant thou shalt be. From evil I will turn to thee.
Hello, friends. Happy Halloween. It is October, and I thought that I would just come on here and make a little video for you guys about my favorite scary movies. So this list starts with the least scary, or the mild side, all the way till the end, which is the scariest or the spiciest movies. So this is definitely not a full list of all the scary movies by any means. Like, I didn't put Insidious or The Conjuring or The Grudge or anything like that on there because we already know that those movies are scary. And I wanted to put some more cult-like movies or just unique movies or fun movies that I love to watch every year. So I just want to mention that there should be a trigger warning for blood, gore, death, mental illness, anything scary. If you don't like scary, click away now. So the first movie is The Village. The Village is a classic M. Night Shyamalan film about a small village deep in the woods, secluded from the outside world out of fear. The elders of the community warn of creatures in the woods. Red, their color, is even banned from the village because they don't want to attract them. With no modern medicines or technology, Ivy is left with barely any vision. In order to save her love, she must travel into the woods to find life-saving medicine, risking her life against the monsters. This film is definitely nightmare fuel for me when I was younger, especially when I was a kid. It freaks me out every single time that I go into the woods. I'm afraid that a red cloaked figure is gonna come out and get me. But anyways, that is number 1. Freaky. So Freaky is a horror comedy about a teenage girl who gets stabbed by a serial killer and ends up switching bodies with him. So it's based off of Freaky Friday, and I actually love how the actors really made it believable. They really embodied the characters of switching the roles, and that was what made it super entertaining. There were a lot of like really fun parts that broke the tension, but it was also really creepy and gory. And yeah, they definitely had some gory death scenes in it. So that's number 2. So number 3, Scream 1 and 4. So I know I'm kind of breaking the rules here by putting 2 and 1, but Scream 1 is just that classic horror movie that I look forward to watching every single year. It just gives me the creeps. And the 4th one is pretty much a self-aware version, a more modern version of Scream. And the first one is a classic. You don't even honestly need to watch the 2nd and 3rd one. They're not even that good. But the 4th one, it definitely is more of like a thriller mystery. And it's just a fun Halloween movie. I love watching it. Number 4, Ghost Stories. So Ghost Stories is actually a Hulu original, and it is about a man whose job is to expose fake psychics, mediums, and show that ghosts and spirits aren't real. So one day he gets a mysterious note, and it turns out that it has been his lifelong idol. So there is another man who exposes, fake psychics, and he looks up to him so much. And instead of receiving praise from him, he basically is like, no, like, you don't even know what you're talking about. I dare you to go and investigate these stories and prove to me that ghosts aren't real. So ever since that moment, he basically started being haunted, and he goes to different stories in the case file of possessions, ghosts, and he is searching for the truth.
No.
Fine then. Can you go away, please? We're trying to talk.
So I don't want to give everything away, but it was definitely super creepy. It was one of my favorite unique spooky stories because, like I said, it's not the scariest thing ever, but it definitely was refreshing to see a unique new ghost story. So that's Ghost Stories. 5 is Signs. Signs is my favorite alien movie, hands down, because it just feels so real of how I would react if aliens were to invade. So Signs tells the story of a family whose mother passed in a tragic accident. They're living on their farm, just trying to find their new normal life. And one day they discover that there are crop circles and that there's beings stalking them around their property. Soon enough, they turn on the news and find out that aliens are invading the earth everywhere, and it's their story of how to survive. And the way that M. Night Shyamalan just makes you feel in the movie, it's almost like you're in their shoes and you are just as scared as they are. You don't know what to do. You're wearing tinfoil on your head. You're afraid of the aliens. And I just feel like that is how I would react to. So Black Swan. So Black Swan is a psychological horror. It's making you question what is real and what is a nightmare. Natalie Portman plays a ballerina plagued by insecurity, predators, bullies, and judgment. Working to be the prima ballerina, her mental health deteriorates. Darkness starts to terrorize her, and there's a lot of dark imagery, blood, sex, gore, fatal attraction that definitely will make you just feel very creeped out. It's very dark. Like I said, you're left questioning what is real and what is in her mind. Scary stories to tell in the dark. So this movie actually was spookier than I thought it was going to be. It definitely triggers my childhood nightmares of seeing that book on the shelf of the library, and just my imagination would run wild about all the scary stories in that book. Some may not have found this that scary, but some of the deaths in the movie kind of sat with me for a couple days of like, ooh, that was super creepy and super weird. And it kind of has an It vibe of kids just trying to survive against these monsters and banding together. So it was an unexpected treasure for me, at least. So now we are going to start getting into the creepiest ones. So the next step is Midsommar, and Midsommar is just a wild ride, and Florence Pugh is iconic and the best part of this movie in my opinion. As a young woman grieving the loss of her parents and sister, she decides to take a trip to attempt to ease the tensions of her toxic relationship and her depression. Unbeknownst to them, her and her group have been invited to take part in the dark rituals of Midsommar Festival. One by one, the students are killed off in gory and ritualistic ways. So Books of Blood. So Books of Blood is actually a Hulu original about intertwining stories that create the Book of Blood. But let's just say that this book isn't made of paper, and it's a spirit foretelling the deaths of those who encounter the darkness. I love the unique, scary stories that it intertwined together. I've never seen anything like it. It was definitely just super creepy and scary, and for being a Hulu original, I was pretty impressed it had a good amount of just creepy things and jump scares to keep you just wondering what is going to happen next. The next up is Trick or Treat. So I watched this on HBO Max, and Trick or Treat tells the cursed tales of a town on Halloween, the dangers of going out alone and not even knowing who your neighbor might be. From werewolves to ghosts and serial killers, this movie not only gives you the classic frights and screams, but also has surprise twists around every corner. And honestly, this is one of my favorite Halloween movies ever. I loved it. It was not only super creepy, but there were just so many different storylines going on that were all really creative, and they were not predictable. It was all just, I don't know, I loved it. You gotta watch it. So Nightmare on Elm Street is the iconic Freddy Krueger nightmare. Basically, it makes you scared to even fall asleep. You can run, you can try to hide, but eventually you're going to have to fall asleep. And even your dreams aren't safe. I do like the new one, but I feel like the old one just has a level of creepiness that the new one can't even compare to. So I love the old one. It just shows how it definitely inspired a lot of horror movies that we see today. Sixth Sense. So The Sixth Sense tells the story of a young boy who sees dead people. Guided by the dead, he is led to uncover their stories, and the dead want to be noticed, but it's too much for a child to handle, and so his nightmares haunt him everywhere he goes. This movie feels so unnerving and hopeless and dark, and he's uncovering the murders of these people, and as you know, M. Night Shyamalan always throws a twist in there, so if you haven't seen it already, you just gotta go and watch it so you can figure out one of the most iconic plot twists of all time. The Witch. So, The Witch is so creepy to me. The Witch is set in the early 1600s following a family banished from their community. Farming and living in the wild, the paranoia of dark magic and witches in the woods creates tension between Thomasin and her younger siblings. The baby goes missing and madness spirals out of control. For anyone who is scared of the paranormal and witchcraft, you'll definitely be scared by this one. And Anya Taylor-Joy, the queen, is fantastic. And I just love how the characters really sell the parts and they speak in Old English, and just the fact that they are embodying this hopelessness and this scaredness of what may be out in the woods. It's just super, super creepy. It was so scary. We got two more on the list. So I bet you're wondering, what are my two most scary movies? Like I said, these are, in my opinion, but my second to last one is Malignant. So Malignant just came out. It's a James Wan film. Malignant actually scared me way more than I even thought it would. It definitely kind of had like a couple little corny moments, but if you suspend your belief, you're going to have such a more fun experience. It ended up like creeping under my skin, and I did not like watching it by myself. So Madison, a young woman who suffered from a hard childhood, is coping with the loss of multiple miscarriages. Her abusive husband pushes her into a wall, not only injuring, but awakening something even more sinister. Ever since that night, Madison is plagued with premonitions of grisly murders from an evil force. Watching this, you'll see sleep paralysis nightmares, gore, creepy old VHS videos, and a twist I genuinely did not expect. Not only are there those creepy scenes, but there's actual fight scenes and action scenes in the movie that just, it was intense. I really liked it. I thought it was very scary, and don't watch it by yourself like I did, because I watched it by myself, and no, get a friend to watch it with you. The last but not least, the scariest movie, like I said, in my opinion, that scares me the most, is Hereditary. So I don't even necessarily recommend anybody to watch this movie because it's traumatizing, and every single time you hear, you are going to think of this movie. Yeah, no, that sound is going to freak you out for the rest of your life. Basically, Hereditary is about a family, and it starts out at a funeral, and it's a funeral for their grandmother, and we don't really know much about the grandmother, but neither does the family. She lives a very mysterious life, and we know that she's a leader of some sort in her community, but we're not exactly sure what she has gotten into and why all these random people are at her funeral. The daughter, Annie, attempts to cope with the loss as well as help her daughter, Charlie, who feels the loss as well. Annie attempts to go looking into her mother's past, but finds out many dark secrets that start to haunt her. As the movie progresses, you begin to realize that someone or something is cursing the family. and causing horrific deaths and pain. The audience is not only mortified, but equally as confused and scared as the family is. The puzzle pieces start to come together as the movie progresses, but not before it's all too late. I don't want to spoil it for you, but do not watch this if you're afraid of like satanic cults, rituals, mutilation, ghosts. It's very scary stuff, and it's actually made by Ari Aster, who made Midsommar. So it's definitely one of the goriest, creepiest movies, and you will see it and you will just be on the edge of your seat with discomfort every single time. Like, yeah, The Shining made me really uncomfortable, but nothing compared to Hereditary. Hereditary was terrifying. Okay, everybody, so thank you so much for watching. This concludes my video. I'm gonna go ahead and turn on all my lights now and sleep with a nightlight because I am terrified thinking about all of those scary movies. And honestly, I just love watching something that gives me an adrenaline rush because of course it's scary and you're kind of talking about death and pain, but at the same time, it reminds us that we're alive. So if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. If you want me to do another video about some of my favorite movies or mystery movies or thriller movies, or if you want me to break down a movie, just let me know. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Comment down below if you end up watching any of these, and XOXO Sarah. Happy Halloween!